Andrew, could you please explain what are you doing?
Well, I think I mentioned before, the frame has been on the wall a year now. So last year this was full of emma, and the emma were burned on the 12th, and so the frame has been up, but there's been no vandalism of the frame at all. You can see the frame except for the birds and the dust. The frame is as it was, but the only thing is the kids have taken the hooks off. So the kids have come at some point and taken all these little hooks off. And so that's the only act of vandalism that has occurred. So what I've got to do is just put the hooks back on before we hang the emma. I hope that I've got enough, otherwise there's a problem. But it's interesting that the only thing they touched, because I mentioned before, the kids painted the frame. So the kids painted the frame, they did the undercoat and they did the gloss, and so the kids, I guess, took ownership of the frame. They own the frame. It's really their frame, not my frame. And it's interesting to see that once you give people that kind of power and that responsibility, then obviously there are two ways they can deal with that. They can either reject the power and the responsibility, or they can accept it. And if they accept it, then they kind of take ownership of something. And so I guess in effect, what they did is they took ownership of this kind of stewardship almost of the frame. And that's why they haven't damaged it, because I guess that in their minds they consider that the frame is theirs, which of course it's their frame, not my frame. But it is interesting to see how, if you're doing a kind of community, any kind of community art project or anything that involves community buy-in, if you genuinely include the community in the whole process, not just as a kind of superficial add-on, but as a genuine kind of integral part of the process, then you kind of negate a lot of the problems. You kind of remove a lot of the problems that you would have usually. I mean, if you were to do this as a top-down piece, and you were to put the frame on the wall, it would be vandalised, of course, because there's no ownership in the community. But because the community owns this, they haven't vandalised it. I mean, it's in this kind of exposed area. Anybody can have access here, but there's been no vandalism. And you say it's been up a year now. So in actuality, it's been up longer than a year, because it was on the wall about June. I think it went up June 2014. It was on the wall, and then the emma were on the wall about a month, and then we burned them on the 12th. So actually it's been up longer than a year, and say except for the birds, it's in pretty good condition. I'm surprised, but then I'm not surprised, because the whole point about this project was to kind of engineer into it this sense of ownership. And I think that if you, maybe the outcome, when you look at the frame, it kind of it directly demonstrates whether the process was actually inclusive or not. Because if the process was not inclusive, even if you thought it was inclusive, the frame would have been vandalised. But because it was inclusive, there's been no vandalism on it, which is quite amazing, really.